Terrare, born 1772 to 1798, was a French man who became famous for his insatiable appetite and unusual eating habits. He was born in rural France, and as a child, he displayed an unusual ability to eat large amounts of food without feeling full. As he grew older, his appetite became even more extreme, and he developed a reputation for being able to eat almost anything. As a child, Terrare had a huge appetite and by his teens could eat a quarter of a bullock, weighing as much as Terrare himself, in a single day. By this time, his parents could not provide for him and had forced him to leave home. He was known to eat live animals, including snakes and cats, as well as garbage and other inedible objects. Terrare's appetite was so voracious that he once ate an entire meal meant for 15 people in one sitting. Terrare's hunger was insatiable, and he would often beg for food or steal it if he couldn't find enough to eat. Terrare's insatiable appetite wasn't just limited to food, he was also known to eat non-food items such as stones, live animals, and even human flesh. Despite his massive food intake, Terrare remained thin and wiry, which puzzled doctors and scientists who studied him. At the age of 17, he weighed only 100 pounds. He was described as having unusually soft fair hair and an abnormally wide mouth, roughly 4 inches between his jaws when his mouth was fully extended, in which his teeth were heavily stained and on which the lips were almost invisible. When he had not eaten, his skin would hang so loosely that he could wrap the fold of skin from his abdomen around his waist. When full, his abdomen would distend, like a huge balloon. The skin of his cheeks was wrinkled and hung loosely, and when stretched out, he could hold 12 eggs or apples in his mouth. Later, in 1798, N.M. Tessier of Versailles Hospital contacted Percy to notify him that a patient of theirs wished to see him. It was Terrare, now bedridden and weak. Terrare told Percy that he had swallowed a golden fork 2 years earlier, which he believed was lodged inside him and causing his current weakness. He hoped that Percy could find some way to remove it. Percy, however, recognized that he had advanced tuberculosis. A month later, Terrare began to experience continuous exudative diarrhea, dying shortly afterwards. He was just 26. The corpse rotted quickly. The surgeons of the hospital refused to dissect it. Tessier, however, wanted to find out how Terrare differed from the norm internally, and was also curious as to whether the gold fork was actually lodged inside him. At the autopsy, Terrare's gullet was found to be abnormally wide, and when his jaws were opened, surgeons could see down a broad canal into the stomach. His body was found to be filled with pus, his liver and gallbladder were abnormally large, and his stomach was enormous, covered in ulcers and filling most of his abdominal cavity. The fork was never found.